there's a lot to be done. First of all, you salute the commander-in-chief who got those 76 million votes and is going to chart the way. And I'll give him advice and counsel along the way. I'll just say what he told me. Return the Pentagon to the warfighters, Pete. Get in there and clean out all the social justice, politically correct garbage on top and get back to lethality, warfighting, accountability, meritocracy, and readiness. And guess what? 95% of the people in that building in the Pentagon and that wear the uniform, that's all they want to do anyway. And so when you return to that, it changes the culture of an institution that now stands up straight. You address that recruiting crisis. You address the retention crisis. Sean, I can't tell you how many families have reached out to me and said, my son or daughter wasn't going to join, and now they are after President Trump was elected and you were chosen to be SecDef. Same with retention. And then the rest of the world takes notice of that, Sean. So I'm not going to get ahead of the president on policy or what our posture will be. But we will be strong. And we will have peace through strength, as Donald Trump has said, and we will put America first. That's what he's asked me to do at the Pentagon, and that's my promise to the American people and our warfighters, led by President Donald Trump.
Over 100 vets signing up to march in support of Pete in D.C., and some of them came all the way down here to New York because they're willing to put their name on it, and that's what team guys do. We got fellow Navy SEALs Bill Brown, who's the man behind this project. Bill, you put this whole thing together. You've got massive support, and guys are willing to go down there and march in favor of Pete Hegseth, and you still have holdouts like Joni Ernst?
Well, you know what? We're sending a signal. It's time to do the right thing. It's time to follow Trump's leadership. We, the people, voted for a change of course of direction. Trump has set up his cabinet for that. People are going to come, have the courage, have the vision to change things that need to get changed, like the military, like the Pentagon. You look at what the chaotic, shameful withdrawal in Afghanistan, billions of dollars of military.
Trillions.
Yeah. If that's not proof positive example that we need new leadership, there's nothing else that is.
Yeah.
The majority of our Secretary of Defenses have either been former generals and senior leaders in the military, or they have been individuals that have been heavily entrenched in the leadership of the military-industrial complex. The problem with that, they bring in political biases, they bring in relationships, they bring in these things that influence their decision-making. Now we throw in a lot of the woke ideology that was happening over the 4 years. I think our Department of Defense is off track.
You have gathered a group of warfighters, primarily Navy SEALs, to descend on Washington, D.C. in support of Pete.
That's right. We want to exercise our First Amendment right. We want to show our nation's leaders in the Senate where the warfighter class stands. You know, Pete's gone to war for our country. There's so many issues now that are at risk for our nation. Our Pentagon's been astray. A lot of us feel that way. And we want a kind of a historic first. We want our leaders to know where the warfighters stand. And so what our plan is we're going to exercise our First Amendment rights for free speech and free assembly with honor and dignity. We're going to hold the moral high ground. We're going to be the adults in the room. We're going to have veterans that are going to go to the Durkinson Senate office building and be there by 7:30 when the doors open, so we can have a lot of veterans in presence in the confirmation hearings. We're going to have a lot of veterans that are going to have American flags. We're going to meet up at the Vietnam War Memorial this Tuesday at 9 a.m. at the Memorial Wall in Washington, D.C. You guys, any veteran out there, any patriot American that's concerned at what's going on and thinks we need Pete in leadership, you're invited to come join us 9 a.m. the Vietnam War Memorial.
This is not an affirmative action program. The military is about the toughest, the bravest, the most patriotic people that will save this country.
Lloyd Austin, travesty. Former chairman of Joint Chiefs of Staff, Mark Milley, forget about it. He should be recalled on active duty and court-martialed for what they did in Afghanistan.
I want a leader at the head of DOD that is going to be a visionary, that's going to lay out the new vision, the new mission, and restore the warrior culture to DOD. That's who we need at the head of DOD. I don't want a manager, I want a leader.
Hello everybody, I'm Teresa Carpenter. I am actually an active duty naval officer. I'm prior enlisted. I went from fixing airplanes as an aviation electrician's mate on the S-3B and then the P-3 to being a surface warfare officer on DDGs, and then now I am a public affairs officer, and I've served for nearly 30 years. this cause caused me to take a stand. When I saw the direction that the military was going, when I saw that we were not prioritizing merit at the expense of DEI, I knew it was my time to take a stand. And that is what I'm doing today. I implore every woman to look at what Pete is doing and to have those tough conversations. You might say, oh, well, she's a woman. She shouldn't be supporting this because of the women in combat. No, I want those tough conversations. I want us to look at that study in 2015, and I want us to look at the gear issues with women, and I want us to have those hard conversations, because when we have these hard conversations and we get into the weeds of these issues, then we are being honest with one another. And I believe Pete Hegseth is the one who will have those tough conversations. So today, I stand here with these Navy SEALs, Green Berets, congressmen, and I couldn't be more honored to have this opportunity. And I have fellow female warriors with me, standing beside me in support of Pete Hegseth for the next Secretary of Defense.
There's 8,000 service members, their careers are gone because of the decisions that Secretary Austin made in 2021. It's absolutely unacceptable what we did in Afghanistan, what we forced our service members to do. And by the way, what's going on at the border right now? I live in San Diego, I get it, right? But how can you just let anybody into the border? How can we say that our country is secure if we don't know who's coming across the border? We need Pete Hegseth. He's a patriot, he's went downrange, he's done the right things, and he's got my vote. Thank you.
I'm Kenny Bigby, former Navy SEAL. I'm the 32nd African American Navy SEAL in all of history. I bring that up to say that I represent the unity of the United States here today, and that's what makes us great. 2 words for Pete Hegseth: service and sacrifice. Pete Hegseth served and sacrificed overseas, Iraq, Afghanistan. Pete Hegseth has served and proven to serve and sacrifice with his life for our inalienable rights. The man, and as the Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth. Let's go. Yeah.
Hi. I want to come up here with complete sympathy and understanding for the perspective of women who automatically heard that. And by the way, the Female Marines page is like the underground mafia. I saw the comments. I saw the perspective of what was unraveling when women heard that right off the cuff. And going through the commentary, it's like, wait a minute, who's questioning my service to stand in uniform and say that I can't be a representative of what it means to be in capacity in a foreign theater operation? The truth is, women are serving in combat. They have died in combat environments, and we respect that and we honor them. Major Megan McClung was one of the first women to really bring to light what it meant when we were serving in those capacities. What is being questioned by Pete Hegseth is the standards that are being lowered. Why was it that the Marine Corps, for their officer infantry course, changed their combat endurance test from a pass or fail to an unscored exercise? That was the centerpiece of where women were failing in OIC. And when they changed that, guess what happened? More women were passing. So again, it's not a matter of if women can serve, if they should serve. It's a matter of the safety that we want for our men and women that are going to be in the combat theater operations, and how that's going to affect if we come first place in fighting. Because like Bill said, it's not a second place option. That's what I believe as a woman who served in this capacity in uniform.
From the moment he hit the ground running. His men followed him. He always cared about his men. He cared about the mission, the objective. He made his men understand what the objectives were of that mission, right? He cared about the health and welfare of his men. I gotta tell you, watch this second lieutenant. We're gonna track his career, because one day, he's gonna be the President of the United States. Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth.
I think we could have taken a dozen E4s and put them in a room, and they would have come up with a much better plan than the disaster that happened.
I was actually entered the military at 17, and I remember being at the bottom of the chain of command, looking up at the top of the chain of command, the very tippy top of the chain of command, the Secretary of Defense. And I am living proof that whoever sits in that position has profound influence on people all the way up through the chain of command. Culture is set at the very top. And I'm convinced through my friendship with Pete Hegseth that he is the right man to set the culture within the Department of Defense to renew a focus on warfighting and lethality.
I also know an active duty SEAL that stood his ground and didn't get the vaccine. He could not do any of the workups. They literally made him cut grass and stand watches for, almost 2 years.
The military is for one reason only, and that is to defend our country, defend our citizens, and defend our constitutional republic. And everybody here is in support of the man that can do that, and that's Pete Hegseth, our next Secretary of Defense.